Magandang tanghali ho sa inyong lahat. Happy Friday. So the weekend is upon us and it just zoomed as usual. I just came from the Filipino store, which I like to do, and that is my happy place. I was going to do a quick haul on what I usually buy. Now, I want to have a disclaimer here for my Filipino friends who are watching. I love Filipino food, and that's probably the most exciting part for me going back home. I can't cook Filipino food. I am very intimidated, and I think because I have such a high standard of growing up in the Philippines, and there's so many places where they really make the authentic food. So, and I'm laking lolo ko. Like my taste buds are like from the olden times. Like I don't like anything fancy schmancy Filipino food. So I never make it. If I feel like Filipino food, I usually just go to a restaurant here, which is beautiful in Los Angeles because we have a very vibrant and big Filipino community. Other than that, I cook very simply, and even following recipes sometimes is very intimidating. So there are a couple of things that I don't know. Maybe because it was a tough work week, I'm a little bit bold to try that I've never made. And one of them is kare kare, which is kind of stewed uh, oxtail, beef oxtail in peanut sauce. But again, I like using, you know, sort of the innards of the pig more than the actual meat. Like I will would rather have that than the actual piece of meat. But I've never attempted to make kare kare, and I've been reading recipes about it. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. So, we'll see. So like I said, I go to the Filipino store. I don't buy a whole lot. The other thing that I buy is this 25 bag of pound of rice that will last us for a while. But we were out of rice, and that's the only reason I went. But I kind of show, I don't know, I mean, I don't know any prices in the Philippines, and I think that's going to be something that might have to be adjusted with our food budget because I have no idea how much things cost anymore. But this is like, I don't even know what you call this in English. I think it's like watercress maybe, but in Tagalog it's called kangkong. It's just a vegetable, which is probably my most favorite vegetable. I just put a little bit of soy sauce and some garlic over rice, like quail eggs, some quail eggs with it. I'm happy. I love this vegetable, and a bunch like this is about $3. I have no idea how much that is in the Philippines. Now, fish. When you go to regular supermarket here, you'll find nice fillet fishes. Now, I didn't grow up with that, right? I grew up laking palengke din ako. So I grew up sort of in a wet market where you don't buy the fish unless it's still flopping around. And you go to the Asian store, sometimes you'll get to see that. That's why you have like live tanks if you've ever been to an Asian store. But that's where I get my fix of Filipino dishes. I don't really know how to fillet fish, and they come fillet. And to be honest, so I have like a bunch of, this is like milkfish, and bangus sa atin. It's not my favorite fish actually. I don't really like bangus, but it's small enough that I can just make it for myself because I don't know if this is something that Ryan likes, but I can get my sort of fish fill with that. So I bought that. Now here's another thing. I'm not gonna take it out of the bag because I don't want to kind of scare other people. But this is squid. Again, when you go to the store here, at least the stores that I go to, they're usually already cleaned and frozen, and you can make calamari with it or whatever you want with it. Now this is the actual squid. I bought a bunch of it, and I'm going to attempt to make adobong pusit, which I was watching on a film the other day. So that kind of made me crave for pusit or squid, and I figured I'd match that with a fish, and I can pretend I'm in the Philippines. I also have tofu. I love tofu as much as it's really hard to make, I think, because it splatters and everything. I think it's such a great source of protein, and I actually like it. I'll eat it roasted with some vegetables, or I'll eat it with I'll mix it with my vegetable here. So that's a quick lunch. Now, this is really one of my favorites, guilty pleasures. is quail eggs. I love quail eggs, and in the Philippines, we have this quail eggs as a street food, as a snack, where you kind of hard boil it and you dip it in some sort of batter, and we call it kwek kwek. And growing up, I would have it as a snack. Our neighbor, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, would come out and sell this kwek kwek as like a snack for the kids in the neighborhood. And I think at one point I ate 17 of those. I was much younger, but I ate about 17 until I really got a bad headache, because I learned that this has twice the amount of calories, I believe, than a regular chicken egg. Plus you dip it in batter and you deep fry it. So, but it is. I love quail eggs with just about everything. So I always try to get a pack and try not to eat the whole thing in one sitting. Now, ginger. It's very ubiquitous with Filipino cooking. It's it removes maybe the fishy scent, or if there is, and of course ginger is such a herbal vegetable that you want to put it, you taste it everywhere with soup or with dishes, so that's always good to have. I don't normally buy it this big, but I don't know why they had it in big packs like that, but I think that was like $2 or something. Green onions, scallions, I just got it because I'm out. Now, this is another one. Anybody who has been to the Philippines, or is Filipino, knows what that is. Sisig is what we call it. I've never bought this, but I saw it and I thought, well, let's see what it tastes like, and maybe we can just fix it to make it taste somewhat decent. But yeah, it's basically finely diced pork, usually the not prime cuts of the pork, good way of saying it, and you just fry it up with some onions and chili, some lime on top of it, and it's traditionally served in the sizzling plate and an egg on top of it, so the egg cooks with everything. And this is actually one of Ryan's favorite dishes, so there's no way I'm going to make it homemade, so figured let's go ahead and try it from a box. Maybe that's somewhat decent. This one, it's just siling labuyo. But this whole pack is about $2, which is 100 pesos. And I don't normally buy a whole pack of chili. But when I was at the store, I was kind of reminded not so long ago in the Philippines, watching the news, how expensive siling labuyo was. So, and this is $2. I think it's sort of normalized now. I don't know, when you go to the market. But yeah, this whole bag here is about $2, which is 100 pesos. So I thought, maybe I'll put it somewhere useful. As every decent non-Filipino cook will do, and maybe Filipino cooks do now too at household, they're everywhere now. I just buy the mix. So I mentioned earlier I was gonna buy kare-kare, and I just buy the mix. I use this brand for my sinigang, so I figured it's probably good also with the kare-kare. So let's see. For the longest time, this is achuete. For the longest time, I didn't know what achuete was in English. I could never find it, but I guess they're called anato, and this is what's going to give the color to the kare-kare, obviously, aside from the peanut butter. Eggplant. I am not a big fan of eggplant, never have been, but it's traditionally put in the kare-kare. I just like to roast it and eat it with tofu or something, so I figured I'll get one of those. And this is sitaw, or Chinese string beans, that you also put in the kare-kare, which is, I guess, our version of just regular green beans. I personally like this better than the American green beans, and this is what we put in our kare-kare as well. So I got a bunch of that, and I just got soy sauce. I get Kikkoman soy sauce. I haven't found a brand, local brand that I like. There's just a different kind of flavor, so I just stick with Kikkoman so that it's not confusing. Okay, we're gonna get to the nitty gritty of the meat, and for the kare kare. I know, because I don't want people to get grossed out, but you know what? I love it, so whatever. This is beef honeycomb. This is, I'm confused. It's called the honeycomb. In the Philippines, I think this is what they call, this is not what they call libro. There's another intestine that they call it libro because it sort of flaps like a book. I think this is just called tripe in Tagalog, but this is traditionally what I like in my kare kare. That dish with the peanut sauce, and then this is the oxtail. I'm gonna put some for Ryan because he doesn't like honeycomb that much, so we'll put a bit of beef, and this whole pack is about $15. And again, I have no idea what cut. I mean, it's beef oxtail, but I don't know if you go to the regular market in the Philippines and what you call it or how much it is anymore. But I'm sure I will find out soon enough. And oh, a few vlogs ago, we ran out of spring roll during a Super Bowl, so we tried to make a homemade one. Didn't work out real well, so I just got a small kind of bottle there, and I got some pork belly. I mean, pork belly you can do really whatever. So I always like to have that in the freezer, and it's a quick whatchamacallit meal for me. By the way, when you hear me say whatchamacallit, it's really a term that I use whenever I just open the fridge and look at what we have to make for lunch or dinner or for myself or whatever. I'm not a big fan of following rules in the kitchen or in life in general. So reading manuals and reading recipes is really not my cup of tea. I'm more of the, you know what, I like garlic and onions and ginger, and I'm sure if I put some sort of meat in there, it's gonna taste great with some of this and some of that. So it's a lot of trial and error. But there's been a few misses, sure, but a lot of it I think has been fairly edible. Both Ryan and I are still alive. So, when you hear me call it like a beef whatchamacallit or a shrimp whatchamacallit, it means that I just found out what I had in the fridge and kind of put something up. And I think I've learned, because if you talked to me 15 years ago, I didn't even know how to boil an egg. How to boil an egg, but I've learned over years in getting comfortable in the kitchen, because I just accepted that I'm not going to be one of those really measured cooks in the kitchen. But that's we're having dinner at home. Like, I'm not having some presidential dinner and inviting dignitaries. It's Brian and myself most of the time having dinner. So I don't want to be stressed cooking out, and if there's an ingredient that's missing, I'll find the closest one, and that's good enough. So, and that's why I keep the freezer sort of stocked with meats, because I know that if I have something in there, I can probably put something together. And I am staring at a big bag of rice on that side, and that is going to last us for a while. So, I think for lunch, I'm going to put together the squid and the milkfish. Make some rice, and the weekend is upon us. So the squid is done. It actually tastes pretty decent. It's not too bad. I just have to fry really quickly the fish. And as you can see, we have about 26 more minutes for the rice to get done, and lunch is ready. Hi again. So it is the end of the day on a Friday. I'm really looking forward to the weekend because it's been a very stressful, tiring week. There's a lot of things that need to get done. You're getting pulled in 1,000 different places, and all of it had to get done yesterday. So I am going to head downstairs to the kitchen and try to figure out how to actually cook kare kare. I have no idea. I have to look up the recipe and maybe pour myself a glass of wine and start unwinding. One of the things I actually do during the weekends is not wear my smartwatch where emails, text, just everything comes in through there. And that's a conscious effort for me because I do love my Apple Watch, but I think once in a while you do have to unplug. And I think it's one of those weekends that I will make sure that I will not wear the watch. So we'll catch up over the weekend, but for now, this will be the end. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.